The comm station at Aurora Space Lab received the signal at exactly 0314 hours, Earth Standard Time. Dr. Catherine Walsh was hunched over calculations for her new faster-than-light engine when the entire room exploded with alerts. Her assistant, Ben Wilson, nearly dropped his coffee mug as screens filled with alien symbols. "What the hell is that?" Ben asked, leaning forward. "First contact," Catherine whispered, her hands shaking as she reached for the red emergency button. Within hours, the world knew. Alien ships had arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. Not one ship, but 17. Each craft was massive, dwarfing the largest satellites humans had launched into space. They didn't come to attack. Instead, they sent a message, an invitation. Ambassador Lisa Martinez stood in the makeshift war room at the White House. Military advisors from every branch surrounded her. Maps covered the walls, showing potential threat zones and defensive positions. Colonel Nathan Reed jabbed at a hologram map of Earth's defensive satellites. "We're not ready for this," he said flatly. "Our best missiles can barely reach the moon. These things jumped across light years." "Maybe they're friendly," suggested General Patricia Adams from the Air Force. The aliens had answered Earth's reply. They called themselves the Galactic Council, and they wanted to meet face to face. They sent coordinates to a space station called Nexus Prime, somewhere between Earth and Mars. The station appeared overnight, shimmering into existence like something from a dream. 2 weeks later, Lisa Martinez stepped aboard the alien station. Captain Rachel Murphy, head of Earth's new defense force, walked beside her. Both women had trained hard for this moment, learning basic alien etiquette and studying the little information the Council had shared. The station was huge. Corridors stretched in all directions, twisting and curving in ways that made human stomachs queasy. Lights shifted colors gently, responding to movement. Creatures of all shapes and sizes moved about their business, ignoring the humans entirely. Their guide was something that looked like a walking crystal. It reflected light in beautiful patterns as it moved. Through a small device clipped to its surface, it spoke in perfect English. "I am Zethka, representative of the Korath Empire. The Council awaits you in the Chamber of Accords." The chamber was enormous. A circular room with seating arranged in tiers, like an ancient stadium. Beings that defied description occupied the seats. Some floated, others had too many limbs to count. A few looked vaguely humanoid, while others seemed to be living liquid or gas. At the center sat a creature that resembled a giant praying mantis, but with metallic exoskeletons that gleamed under the lights. This was Vex Turin, commander of the year, Thraxian military. Beside him floated an ethereal being of pure light, Ambassador Orenshal of the Eldari. "Welcome to the Galactic Council," Zethka announced. "All new species must undergo evaluation before membership can be granted." Lisa Martinez stepped forward, her heels clicking on the crystalline floor. She had prepared for this moment, practicing her speech countless times. "On behalf of Earth and humanity, we thank you for this opportunity. We come in peace, hoping to learn and grow alongside the galactic community." "Very diplomatic," rumbled Vex Turin, his synthetic voice dripping with something that sounded like amusement. "But words mean little in our galaxy. We must assess your capabilities. Show us your weapons." Rachel Murphy tensed beside her ambassador. This was the moment they'd all worried about. Earth's weapons were primitive compared to what they'd glimpsed during their journey to the station. Railguns that could punch through tanks seemed laughable next to ships that traveled faster than light. "Captain Murphy will demonstrate our defensive capabilities," Lisa said, gesturing toward Rachel. Rachel activated her tablet. Holographic displays materialized, showing Earth's arsenal. Nuclear warheads appeared first, splitting atoms in slow-motion demonstrations. Then came the railguns, electromagnetically accelerating projectiles to incredible speeds. Laser weapons followed, burning through metal targets. The chamber fell silent. Then Vex Turin began to laugh. It started as a low rumble, then grew into something that shook the entire room. Other council members joined in. Some clicked, others buzzed, and a few made sounds humans had no words for. Kinetic weapons? Vex Turin asked, still chuckling. You fire metal slugs at your enemies? And nuclear fission? How primitive. The Korath, Zeth Ka, made a sound that might have been pity. Dear humans, in our galaxy, such weapons are museum pieces. We stopped using projectiles 10,000 years ago. Lisa felt her face burning with embarrassment. Rachel's jaw clenched so tight her teeth hurt. They had expected mockery, but this was worse than anything they'd imagined. Perhaps, suggested Orenshal the Eldari, humans would consider protectorate. Status? We could offer protection while you catch up to galactic standards. We didn't come here to beg for protection, Rachel said before she could stop herself. Her military training kicked in and she straightened her spine. We've defended ourselves just fine so far. Against whom? Asked another council member, a blob-like creature that rippled when it spoke. Pirates? Internal conflicts? You have no idea what threats exist in our galaxy. A holographic display activated, showing battles between council ships and various enemies. Energy weapons lit up the void. Shields absorbed impacts that would vaporize planets. Ships maneuvered instantly, defying physics as humans understood. Hit your railguns, Vex Turin said, pointing a blade-like appendage at the display. Cannot penetrate even basic shields. Your nuclear weapons release their energy too slowly. Your laser weapons are toys compared to our plasma cannons. What about our strategy? Rachel asked, desperately searching for something they could offer. Our tactics? Our adaptability? You speak of tactics, clicked Vex Turin, when you cannot even harm our ships. It's like boasting about swordplay when your opponent has a tank. Lisa felt the weight of Earth's hopes crushing down on her. Every human watching the broadcast back home must be feeling the same shame. Years of development, countless resources, their brightest minds, all producing weapons that these beings considered antiques. We have recently developed FTL travel, Lisa offered weakly. With copied technology, Zethka stated matter-of-factly, your engine mirrors designs we've been using for millennia. You haven't invented anything new. The meeting continued for what felt like days but was probably only hours. The council outlined membership requirements. Humans needed to completely overhaul their military technology, adopt council standards, and submit to regular inspections. They would be given junior membership status, essentially the position of galactic children who needed constant supervision. When they finally returned to Earth, the mood was somber. News broadcasts showed reactions from around the world. Some people cried. Others protested, burning images of alien ships. Military leaders held emergency meetings, searching for ways to upgrade Earth's arsenal. In her lab, Catherine Walsh stared at her calculations. Her FTL engine could save humanity from isolation, but even that was considered basic by council standards. She wondered if humans would ever be respected in this new cosmic community. Colonel Nathan Reed met with his generals. They had 3 months to prepare for the council's final evaluation. 3 months to turn Stone Age weaponry, as the aliens saw it, into something that could earn respect. We need a miracle, General Patricia Adams said, or we'll be the galaxy's joke forever. Rachel Murphy stood alone on the White House lawn, looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, aliens were laughing at humanity's pathetic weapons. She clenched her fists, feeling anger bubble in her chest. You haven't seen what we can do yet, she whispered to the sky. Human creativity doesn't follow your rules. But as the weeks passed, the laughter echoed in their minds. Every scientist, every military strategist, every person who looked up at the night sky wondered the same thing. Would Earth forever be seen as the galaxy's primitive backwater? Or could humanity find a way to prove their worth with the very weapons the Council despised? The first shot hadn't been fired yet, but when it was, everything would change. 2 months after that humiliating meeting, Earth was different. People worked harder, studied longer, and looked at the stars with new determination. Scientists barely slept, trying to find ways to make better weapons. Military bases buzzed with activity day and night. Dr. Helen Wright stood in her lab at the Nevada Research Facility, looking at screens filled with numbers and diagrams. Coffee cups littered her desk. She had stopped counting how many she had drunk. Her team worked around, her testing new explosives and laser combinations. "We need something the council hasn't seen before," she muttered to her assistant, Brad Miller. "Something they won't expect." "Maybe we're thinking about this wrong," Brad suggested, pulling up a hologram of a railgun. "What if we push our existing technology to its limits?" At that moment, alarms started blaring throughout every military facility on Earth. Red lights flashed in the command centers. At Deep Space Monitoring Station Argos, Commander Jake Collins jumped to his feet. "Report," he shouted. "Unknown ship, sir," replied Lieutenant Sarah Kim, her fingers dancing across her console. "It just appeared at the edge of our solar system. Jump signature matches nothing in our database." The ship was massive, easily 3 times larger than the biggest council vessel they had seen. Its hull was dark and jagged, covered in spikes and strange markings. Weapons ports dotted its surface like cancerous growths. Within minutes, the signal came through. A harsh, guttural voice filled the command center. "Primitive species. This is Captain Kralthak of the Gretchen Empire. Your solar system now belongs to us. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Jake's heart pounded. He had read about the Gretchen in the files the council had shared. Space pirates who targeted newly contacted civilizations. They raided for resources and slaves, destroying anyone who resisted. "Get me the White House," Jake ordered, "and contact the Galactic Council. Tell them we need help." The response from the council came faster than expected. The crystalline voice of Zeth Ka crackled through the speakers. "Your weapons are insufficient to defend against Gretchen raiders. Submit to Protectorate status immediately. Allow us to negotiate on your behalf." Colonel Nathan Reed stood in the war room, his face red with anger. "They want us to give up? Just like that?" Ambassador Lisa Martinez paced the floor. "If we fight and lose, Earth becomes a slave world. If we submit, we lose our freedom forever." "We fight," said Captain Rachel Murphy, slamming her fist on the table. "Even if our weapons are primitive, we don't surrender." General Patricia Adams pulled up a hologram of the Gretchen ship, now identified as the Bone Render. "Their shields are quantum-enhanced. Their weapons include plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. According to Council data, they can destroy a planet." "What do we have that can touch them?" asked Lisa. Rachel studied the readouts. Years of military training had taught her to find weaknesses. "Their shields are designed for energy weapons, plasma, quantum bursts, that sort of thing. And we use kinetic weapons," Nathan finished. "The very things the Council mocked." The next hours were chaos. Earth's military mobilized like never before. Ships that were still being built were rushed to completion. The EDF Warship Defender, humanity's first space battleship, launched ahead of schedule. Captain Murphy took command, her crew barely trained, but fiercely determined. At the Mars orbital defense platforms, Major Chris Thompson prepared his team. "Load everything we've got," he ordered. "Conventional warheads, nuclear missiles, railgun ammunition, we won't get a second chance." The Gretchen gave Earth 24 hours to surrender. Kralthak broadcast taunts that were recorded by terrified civilians. "You are insects. Your primitive toys cannot harm our shields. When we finish with your planet, we will sell what's left to the highest bidder." Lieutenant Sam Anderson prepared her squadron of mining vessels in the asteroid belt. These ships were never meant for combat, but desperate times called for desperate measures. The mining crews volunteered immediately when asked to fight. "We're not soldiers," Sam told her team, "but we know space, we know rocks, and we know how to use mining charges." At the Sierra 7 space station, Chief Engineer Amy Foster supervised a crash conversion program. "I can't believe I'm saying this," she said to her crew, "but we're turning our industrial welding lasers into weapons. Double the power output. We don't care about burnout. We need firepower." The true surprise came from civilian sources. Video. Game designer Ben Miller arrived at the Pentagon with his team. "Our AI can control drone swarms," he explained to skeptical generals. "We've been testing it for our new game, The patterns are unpredictable. No algorithm can predict them. Telecommunications expert Dr. Lisa Chang worked with satellite companies across the globe. Our comm satellites can emit focused electromagnetic pulses, she explained. Not enough to damage ships, but enough to confuse their sensors. As 0 hour approached, Professor David Morgan made a discovery that would change everything. While studying the Gretchen shield data the Council had provided, he noticed something. Their shields work differently than ours would, he explained to the science team. They're optimized for energy absorption and dispersal. Plasma hits the shield and the energy spreads out harmlessly. What about kinetic impacts? Asked Dr. Wright. David's eyes lit up. Their shields aren't designed for it. Nuclear weapons don't just create explosions. The EMP burst overloads their energy management systems. If we detonate nukes close enough, suddenly, Earth's primitive weapons didn't seem so useless. The bone render began moving toward Earth. Kralthak broadcast one final message. You had your chance. Now watch as we demonstrate what real weapons can do. The Gretchen ship started with a display of power, a plasma cannon charged, glowing with deadly energy. They fired at a small asteroid, completely vaporizing it. The message was clear. Earth would be next. At Mission Control, Colonel Nathan Reed looked at the assembled commanders on his screen. Remember what they said about our weapons being primitive? Sometimes primitive means we haven't forgotten how to improvise. All units. This is Defender. Rachel Murphy's voice came through the communications network. Execute defensive formation. Remember your training. Remember why we're fighting. The Gretchen ship accelerated toward Earth, confident in their superiority. They had conquered dozens of worlds with similar displays of force. To them, humanity was just another primitive species about to learn their place in the universe. But, as the bone render crossed into the outer solar system, something unexpected happened. The ship's sensors began reporting false readings, ghost ships appearing and disappearing. Their navigation systems stuttered. What is this interference? Growled Kralthak. Unknown, Captain, his tactical officer replied. Their electromagnetic emissions are crude, but they're everywhere. In the asteroid belt, Sam Anderson gave the order. Scatter mining charges, standard spacing. Let's give them a surprise. The Gretchen ship continued its approach, unaware that Earth's primitive weapons were about to show what they could really do. As the bone render drew closer to Mars, every human fighter tensed, ready to prove that human ingenuity could triumph where raw technology failed. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Gretchen ship bone render moved through the asteroid belt like a predator stalking prey. Their sensors showed no threats, just floating rocks and space debris. The confidence in Captain Kralthak's crew was absolute. They had done this many times before: terrorize, conquer, enslave. Show them real weapons, Kralthak ordered. His plasma cannon charged for another demonstration shot. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the ship. Not from impact, but from the inside, as explosives hidden inside an asteroid detonated next to their hull. The primitive mining charges from Lieutenant Sam Anderson's vessels bypassed the sophisticated shields entirely. They hadn't struck with energy, just simple mechanical force. Report, Kralthak snarled. Minor damage, Captain. Their mining explosives don't have enough power to. 3 more explosions followed in quick succession. Each asteroid that looked innocent held its own surprise. The Gretchen shields flickered as they tried to process these unconventional attacks. They're using mining charges as proximity mines, the tactical officer reported. Our shields aren't calibrated for these low-energy impacts. From the asteroid belt, Sam Anderson watched through her ship's cameras. They can't predict which rocks have explosives, she said to her crew. Their fancy scanners are looking for energy signatures. They don't expect dumb rocks. Meanwhile, at Mars orbital defense platforms, Major Chris Thompson had his own surprise ready. The Gretchen ship approached their position, weapons charging for an easy kill. They hadn't even bothered to maneuver. Humans posed no real threat. Target their weapon ports, Chris ordered. Fire when they're committed to their shot. As the bone render's plasma cannon reached full charge, Chris gave the command. Modified industrial welding lasers, overcharged and unstable, fired and focused beams. These weren't sophisticated alien weapons, but they didn't need to be. The beams struck the Gretchen weapon ports just as plasma was ready to discharge. The feedback was catastrophic. Plasma meant to destroy a planet instead ruptured inside the weapon system. Explosions rippled across the bone render's surface as multiple systems overloaded. Impossible, Kralthak roared. Their lasers are toys, how did they— Captain, they struck while our weapons were charging. The plasma feedback. Another wave of explosions answered him as Earth's second innovation struck. Dr. Lisa Chang's satellite network had been busy. Standard communications equipment, pushed beyond normal parameters, created electromagnetic pulses across the Gretchen ship's path. These weren't strong enough to damage systems, but they didn't need to be. They confused sensors, disrupted weapon targeting, and created false heat signatures. Ghost ships everywhere, the navigation officer reported. I can't tell what's real. In this chaos, Captain Rachel Murphy aboard the Defender made her move. All ships execute modified stealth approach. Use the electromagnetic interference as cover. The EDF warship wasn't invisible, its technology wasn't that advanced. But the Defender didn't need to hide. The Gretchen's own superior sensors were now working against them, overwhelmed by false signals and interference patterns. Ben Miller's AI-controlled drone swarms launched from the Defender. Hundreds of small drones, each no bigger than a basketball, moved in patterns that no computer could predict. The Gretchen's targeting computers tried to lock on, but the swarm's movements were purely random, designed by gaming algorithms rather than military doctrine. What are these things? A Gretchen weapons officer demanded. I can't hit them. They're just toys, Kralthak insisted. Ignore them. Focus on the real threat. But the drones weren't meant to attack. They were scouts mapping the Gretchen ship's energy signatures and shield frequencies. Each drone transmitted data back to Professor David Morgan's team on Earth. I see it, David reported to Mission Control. Their shields pulse at regular intervals to dissipate energy. There's a gap, 0.3 seconds where kinetic impacts have full effect. Colonel Nathan Reed smiled grimly. Send that data to all units. Let's show them what our railguns can really do. The bone render, confident despite the annoyances, turned toward Earth for their final attack. They had suffered some damage, but nothing critical. These human tricks were irritating, but ultimately harmless against their superior technology. They were wrong. The first salvo came from the Defender. Railgun slugs, accelerated to a significant percentage of light speed, struck during the shield's vulnerable moment. The kinetic impact overwhelmed the energy dispersal systems. Holes appeared in the Gretchen's armor. Not large, but real damage. Impossible, Kralthak screamed. They can't penetrate our shields. They're timing their shots to our shield pulse, a technician reported. How do they know our frequency? The answer came in the form of more railgun fire. The Defender wasn't alone. Mining ships retrofitted with kinetic weapons joined the barrage. Every shot was precisely timed, exploiting the weakness that human observation had discovered. But the human breakthrough came from Dr. Wright's team in Nevada. Working with Professor Morgan's shield analysis, they had modified nuclear weapons for space combat. Instead of explosions, they created focused electromagnetic pulses that lasted longer than the usual burst. Fire-modified warheads, ordered Major Michelle Williams from Jupiter Station Command. Nuclear missiles, considered primitive by the Council, approached the bone render. The Gretchen's point defense systems activated, used to stopping advanced quantum torpedoes and plasma rockets. But these were nuclear weapons with a twist. The modified warheads exploded, not with fire, but with electromagnetic energy that lasted for seconds instead of microseconds. The Gretchen's shields, designed to momentarily absorb and dissipate energy, couldn't handle a continuous electromagnetic field. Their shield generators overloaded, trying to process energy that wouldn't stop. Coming. Shields down to 40%, the Gretchen engineer reported. The EMP field is collapsing our grid. How are their primitive weapons doing this? Kralthak demanded. The truth was simple. The Gretchen's shields were amazing at what they were designed for. They could absorb plasma that would melt planets. They could deflect quantum weapons that bent space-time, but they had never encountered an enemy that used both outdated kinetic weapons and Stone Age nuclear technology in ways their creators never intended. From Earth, millions watched as their forces struck again and again. The Bone Render, a ship that had destroyed planetary defenses single-handedly, was being hurt by weapons the Galactic Council had mocked. Rachel Murphy opened communications with the Gretchen ship. Captain Kralthak, this is Captain Murphy of Earth Defense Force. Your ship is damaged. Your shields are failing. Withdraw now. The response was a stream of alien curses and threats, but beneath the bravado there was something new in Kralthak's voice. Uncertainty. Your reign of terror ends here, Rachel continued. You came expecting to fight primitives. Instead, you found humans. We don't play by your rules because we never learned them. We use what works. Another volley of railgun fire punctuated her words. The Bone Render's armor buckled in new places. Systems that had conquered dozens of worlds were failing against mining charges, welding lasers, and jury-rigged nuclear weapons. The battle was far from over, but the message was clear. Earth's primitive weapons weren't so primitive when creativity met desperation. The Gretchen had expected easy prey. They had found an angry hornet's nest instead. As the firefight continued around Mars, word spread through Galactic Council space. The species everyone had mocked was fighting back. And they were winning. The galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson about human ingenuity. The battle raged near Mars as the Bone Render tried to retreat. Kralthak's confidence had shattered along with his ship's armor. His crew scrambled to repair systems that had never been designed to handle such primitive yet effective attacks. Captain, their railguns are punching through our hull, reported the damage control officer. Our repair bots can't keep up with these kinetic impacts. Then we run, Kralthak growled. Charge the FTL drive, we'll return with reinforcements. But Captain Rachel Murphy aboard the Defender had anticipated this. Years of military strategy training had taught her to predict enemy movements. She activated her communicator. All units, they're running. Execute containment protocol. Lieutenant Commander Jason Dale, commanding a squadron of mining ships, moved his vessels into position. These weren't warships, but they carried something the Gretchen hadn't expected: modified navigation disruptors, originally designed by Dr. Robert Barnes for mapping gravitational anomalies. These devices now served a different purpose. Coordinate the pulse, Jason ordered. Let's make their nav computers confused. The devices activated, creating localized distortions in space-time. Not enough to be dangerous, but enough to scramble any FTL calculations. The Bone Render's navigation systems went haywire, showing impossible jump vectors that would either send them into the sun or split them across multiple dimensions. We can't jump, the Gretchen navigator shouted. Their interference is blocking our FTL. Then blast through them, Kralthak ordered, his desperation showing. Full power to weapons. The Bone Render turned for one final attack, targeting the HFY Defender directly. Quantum torpedoes charged to maximum power. Plasma cannons glowed with deadly energy. If they couldn't escape, they would take Earth's flagship with them. They're targeting us for a killing blow, reported the Defender's tactical officer. Rachel smiled. Then they've fallen for our trap. Execute maneuver Delta 7. The Defender suddenly seemed to lose power, drifting helplessly in space. Distress. Signals broadcasted on all frequencies. To the Gretchen, it looked like a technical failure. The primitive human ship couldn't handle combat stress. Perfect, they're dead in space. Kralthak laughed. All weapons fire. The entire arsenal of the Bone Render unleashed on the drifting Defender. Quantum torpedoes streaked through space. Plasma cannons fired continuously. For 3 seconds that felt like eternity. The Gretchen poured their rage and desperation into destroying the human flagship. Then the Defender's engines roared back to life. But it was too late for the Gretchen to realize their mistake. From behind the Bone Render, where the attack had drawn no attention, Major Michelle Williams commanded her battle group. 3 mining vessels and 2 orbital defense platforms, all modified for combat, waited patiently. They had been silent, engines cold, drifting like debris while the Gretchen focused entirely on the defender. Now, Michelle ordered, railguns fired, from 6 different angles. Not quantum weapons or plasma cannons, but simple kinetic projectiles traveling at relativistic speeds. The Gretchen's shields, already weakened by continuous combat, faced simultaneous impacts from multiple directions. The energy distribution systems, designed to handle energy weapons from a single source, collapsed entirely. Multiple slugs penetrated, deep into the Bone Render's hull. Critical systems failed across the ship. The reactor containment began to falter. "Shield generators down," the Gretchen engineer screamed. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Reactor containment failure. In 30 seconds." Kralthak stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His mighty warship, the terror of dozens of systems, was being destroyed by weapons his people had stopped using during prehistoric times. How had it come to this? "Captain," the communications officer called out. "The human ship is hailing us." On. The view screen appeared Captain Murphy. "Captain Kralthak, this is your final warning. Surrender immediately or your reactor will undergo terminal failure." "You can't do this," Kralthak spat. "Your primitive technology is kicking your advanced ass." Rachel finished for him. "You have 10 seconds to make a choice." The Gretchen. Captain looked around his devastated bridge. Systems sparked and failed. Alarms blared warnings. His crew stared at him, waiting for orders that could save their lives. Kralthak started, then stopped. His pride battled with survival. The reactor countdown reached 15 seconds. "Stand down," he finally roared. "Stand down all weapons. We surrender." Within hours, Earth's space became quiet. The Bone Render sat disabled, surrounded by human vessels. Repair teams from Earth began stabilizing the reactor, while armed guards secured the ship. Kralthak and his crew were taken into custody, dazed by their defeat. In the aftermath, as Earth celebrated its first victory, reports flowed in from other human stations. Deep space monitoring had picked up multiple jump signatures. Ships were arriving from all across the galaxy. The Galactic Council had been watching. At mission control on Earth, the main screen activated. The Council representatives appeared: Zethka the Korath, Vexturin the Thraxian commander, and Orenshal the Eldari. But this time their attitudes had completely changed. "Ambassador Martinez," Zethka spoke first. We observed your battle against the Gretchen." "Indeed," Vexturin added, his tone different from before. "Your tactics were unexpected. Your weapons," Orenshal continued, "appear to have capabilities we overlooked. Projectile weapons timed to exploit shield pulses, nuclear weapons modified for electromagnetic disruption, industrial equipment weaponized for combat effectiveness." Colonel Nathan Reed stood beside Ambassador Martinez. "Perhaps they're not so primitive after all." The Thraxian commander, who had laughed at humanity's weapons just months ago, now looked thoughtful. "We have not encountered kinetic weapons in our conflicts for centuries. Our shields evolved to counter energy-based attacks. Your railguns are effective. The way you modified nuclear weapons to create sustained EMP fields," Zethka added, "shows remarkable understanding of physics. Our scientists request detailed schematics." "I believe," Orenshal said softly, "we owe humanity an apology. We judged based on what we considered advanced, not on what was effective." Rachel Murphy joined the conversation. "We're not asking for special treatment. We just want a fair evaluation. One based on what we can achieve, not on what technology we use." "Agreed," Vexturin rumbled. "Your creative use of existing technology demonstrates battlefield innovation we haven't seen in millennia. Our military doctrine has become rigid." Dr. Catherine Walsh and her team of scientists listened from the control room. The aliens who had dismissed Earth's weapons now discussed them with respect. Terms like unconventional warfare and asymmetric tactics were used with interest rather than mockery. "Perhaps," Zethka suggested, "a technology exchange program would benefit both our peoples." We can learn innovation from you while you learn energy weapon science from us. Lisa Martinez smiled. Now that sounds like a negotiation between equals. The meeting continued late into the night. New treaties were drafted, cooperation plans developed, and respect earned through combat. The Galactic Council's perception of humanity shifted from primitive newcomers to innovative problem solvers. Outside, humanity celebrated. The Gretchen ship served as a trophy and a message. Earth could defend itself. Human creativity could find solutions where advanced technology missed them. As dawn approached over mission control, Rachel Murphy gazed through the window at stars that no longer seemed so threatening. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes the oldest tools wielded with ingenuity were more powerful than the newest weapons. The Council's laughter had ended. Earth's real journey was just beginning. 6 months after the battle against the Gretchen, the Council Chamber of Accords looked completely different. Where once humans had stood as supplicants, now they gathered as equals. The very chamber where they had been mocked now hosted Earth's formal admission ceremony to the Galactic Council. Ambassador Lisa Martinez stood tall beside Captain Rachel Murphy. Colonel Nathan Reed wore his dress uniform with pride. Dr. Catherine Walsh and Professor David Morgan represented Earth's scientific
community.
The chamber that had once echoed with laughter was now silent with respect. Today marks a historic occasion, Zethka announced, his crystalline form reflecting the chamber's lights. Earth has demonstrated capabilities that force us to reassess our understanding of warfare and technology. Vex Turin, the Thraxian commander who had laughed at railguns, stepped forward. His metallic exoskeleton gleamed as he held up a holographic display. Our tactical analysts have designated Earth's combat doctrine as innovative asymmetric warfare. Your concepts are being studied at every military academy in the Council. The display showed diagrams of human tactics, mining charges used as proximity weapons, industrial lasers repurposed for combat, nuclear weapons modified for electromagnetic bursts. Concepts once dismissed were now marked as revolutionary innovations. The key strength, Vex Turin continued, lies not in the sophistication of individual weapons but in their creative deployment. Human military thinking provides perspectives we lack. Oren Shal, the Eldari ambassador, floated forward. His ethereal form pulsed with gentle light. We have learned something profound from humanity. Advanced technology can become a cage if it limits our thinking. You showed us that simple tools can achieve what complex systems cannot. The Council formally presented Earth's membership charter. Unlike the junior status they had once offered, this was full membership with voting privileges. Lisa Martinez accepted the quantum-sealed document, feeling its weight both physically and symbolically. On behalf of Earth and humanity, Lisa said, we accept this honor. We look forward to contributing to galactic peace and prosperity. But the ceremony was just the beginning. In the weeks that followed, real change swept through the galaxy. The Thraxian military invited Captain Murphy to establish a new training academy. Her unconventional tactics course became mandatory for all Council officers. Lieutenant Sam Anderson was commissioned to teach mining vessel combat maneuvers. Major Chris Thompson developed programs for repurposing civilian technology for defense. I can't believe I'm teaching alien generals about mining charges, Sam muttered to her assistant during her first class. Military scientists from across the Council requested access to human nuclear weapons research. Professor Morgan found himself collaborating with brilliant minds from a dozen species, all eager to understand how to modify atomic weapons for space combat. Their energy weapons are still superior, David explained to his team, but now they understand that different situations need different solutions. Dr. Wright established the Nevada Korath Weapons Research Center, where humans and aliens worked side by side. The welding laser weaponization that had damaged the bone render became a joint project. Industrial solutions to military problems created entirely new weapons categories. Perhaps the biggest change came from an unexpected source. Video game designer Ben Miller found himself leading the Council's first asymmetric warfare simulation program. His AI algorithms were integrated into Council battle computers, adding unpredictability to their strictly logical combat systems. "You broke our computers by making them think creatively," admitted a Thraxian programmer. "It's brilliant." Trade agreements followed military cooperation. Earth's kinetic weapon technology sparked new industries. Companies across the galaxy licensed human railgun designs, combining them with alien power systems. The hybrid weapons proved devastatingly effective against pirates and raiders. The asteroid mining techniques that Sam Anderson had weaponized led to lucrative contracts. Earth corporations partnered with alien mining guilds, sharing human expertise for access to exotic materials from distant systems. "Who would have thought," laughed Colonel Reed at a joint military exercise, "that our primitive mining industry would revolutionize galactic resource extraction?" 6 months after the ceremony, Earth's first Council-approved warship Horizon-class destroyer launched from Luna shipyards. The ship combined human railguns with Korath plasma shields and Thraxian quantum sensors. It represented the best of multiple civilizations working together. Rachel Murphy, now Admiral Murphy, took command of the Joint Human Council Defense Force. Her flagship carried a crew composed of dozens of species, all trained in human tactical flexibility. "Mixed crews make better combat units," she reported to the Council. "Different thinking styles cover blind spots." The Gretchen prisoner, Kralthak, eventually cooperated fully with Earth's military, sharing Gretchen raider tactics and vulnerabilities. He spent hours with human strategists, marveling at how they combined simplicity with effectiveness. "You never abandoned your basic tools," he told his interrogators. "We threw away what wasn't perfect, you improved what worked." Technology exchanges flourished in both directions. Earth gained plasma cannon technology and shield generators. The Council received upgraded kinetic weapons and tactical AI systems. Progress accelerated faster than either side had imagined possible. At the Deep Space Monitoring Station Argos, Commander Jake Collins observed a steady stream of peaceful jump signatures. Ships from dozens of races visited the solar system, some as tourists, others as partners in trade or research. "Remember when that screen terrified us?" he asked his staff. "Now it's like watching traffic at a busy intersection." The Galactic Council's military doctrine underwent massive revisions. Combined arms integration became standard practice. Energy weapons and kinetic weapons were no longer seen as competing technologies but complementary systems. Dr. Lisa Chang's electromagnetic warfare techniques were adopted galaxy-wide. Her civilian satellite arrays being weaponized inspired new defense networks. Resources that every civilization already possessed could now serve dual purposes. A year after Earth's acceptance, the Council chamber hosted another ceremony. Dr. Catherine Walsh received the highest scientific honor for her contribution to FTL technology advancement. Her work proved that creative adaptation could evolve existing designs far beyond their creators' intentions. "Humanity brings a vital perspective," Vex Turin admitted publicly. "Your refusal to abandon old technologies while embracing new ones creates resilience." As Earth continued to integrate with the galactic community, more secrets emerged. Many of the Council's advanced species had abandoned their own primitive technologies so long ago that they had forgotten how to innovate from first principles. Human engineers found elegant solutions to problems that had stumped alien scientists for generations. The final chapter came when raiders attempted to attack the trade route between Earth and the Eldari homeworld. This time, a combined human-alien strike team responded. The raiders faced railguns synchronized with plasma cannons, mining charges coordinated with quantum torpedoes, and industrial lasers powered by reactor beam focusing. The raiders surrendered, within hours overwhelmed by the coordinated assault that combined the strengths of multiple technologies. "We thought our weapons were primitive," Admiral Murphy reflected, watching the last prisoners board transport ships. "We thought we needed to catch up to the galaxy. Instead, the galaxy needed to remember what we never forgot, that innovation matters more than sophistication." Deep in his Nevada research facility, Professor Morgan started working on a new project. Combining human nuclear technology with Thraxian quantum field manipulation, he theorized they could create weapons that would make both species safer. His assistant found him staring at complex equations late one night. What if we're changing the galaxy too much? The young scientist asked. David smiled. Change isn't the enemy. Stagnation is. The galaxy laughed at our weapons because they'd stopped innovating. We showed them that the best weapon is the one that adapts. As Earth's influence spread through council space, the memory of that first humiliating meeting faded, replaced by mutual respect earned through combat and confirmed through cooperation. The laughing had stopped. The learning had begun, and in every military academy throughout the galaxy, young officers of dozens of species studied the human lesson. Never dismiss a weapon because it's old. The most primitive tool, wielded with creativity and courage, can change the course of history. Earth had not just joined the Galactic Council. It had revolutionized it one railgun blast at a time.